So, I am coming out with a video explaining how I am a conservative. I am black, I'm gay, and I'm a conservative. Over the past month, I've been sharing my conservative ideas across my various social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Not YouTube yet, but this will be my first debut on YouTube as a conservative. And you would think that I would be very nervous, but as I grow older and come to realize how idiotic I am for being Democrat, being a radical leftist for so long, not even understanding how much damage I was causing to my own nation. And first, let me say, I'm a proud American. I love America. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in America because then I won't enjoy the same freedoms that I have here in other places. I want to give a little background on myself to let people know that I'm much more relatable than what the people who are going to give me a lot of backlash will make everyone believe. Somebody may believe that I'm some kind of plant. Somebody may believe that I'm getting paid. It's 100% not true. I'm not under anybody's campaign to come out and say that I'm black, gay, and conservative. This is something that I've discovered on my own time, on my own research. I spent months researching politics. I'm 25. I'm actually 26. I just turned 26. I'm 26, and before turning 26, or before even turning 25, my whole life I've never been into politics. I've never voted. I never voted for a president. I felt like the system was rigged. I felt like systemic racism was true. I felt like the gay agenda was really an agenda to silence us LGBT people. So I was a huge advocate for the gay agenda. Abortion, I was for abortion. I was never for abortion. Let me say this. Anybody who currently follows my social media platforms and anyone who is curious to see if there's any cap in my rap, you can go back through my history of Facebook posts, through my history of tweets, and see that I've always been pro-life. I've never agreed with abortion, but everything else, as far as indoctrinating people to believe that men who wear wigs are and should be respected as real women, I've spreaded that propaganda. I've spreaded how kids need to be involved in sexuality because gay needs to be everywhere. I've said these things vocally and publicly. I've lost friendships because I didn't agree that people treated, for example, trans women less than. I grew up in poverty. I grew up without knowing. Still to this day, 99% of my entire family. I believed in systemic racism. I believed in oppression. I was the kind of person who was looking for handouts. I was the kind of person looking for reparations. I was the kind of person pushing the gay agenda, trying to make everyone and everything LGBT, waving the flag as much as I could. In 2020, I partook in the blackout, Black Lives Matter, put a black thing silencing. I don't even understand what I was even going for now that I look back at myself. But nonetheless, it's been important for me to try to understand, how did I end up being a blind rat to the Democrats, outside of, of course, them using me to be a tool to push their agenda, which I believe the agenda is the gay agenda, the racial agenda, the agenda to castrate children and permanently mutilate them for life, when obviously people enter phases and obviously there's a gay agenda. I'll tell you this. I only gotten interested in politics because I wanted to find out who I am. I've always wanted to fit in somewhere. Like I said, I grew up without a lot of my family, so I felt like I didn't really know who I am or who I was. So I was always trying to look for myself in people. So I started with black people. When you look at me, I'm obviously black, but I'm half Asian as well. My mom is Filipino, but I just claim black, which I have an issue with. because I felt like when I was so in tune with Black Lives Matter, I felt like I would be shamed for having to claim my Asian side, because in the black culture, which racism is a cultural issue. Let me say that racism is a cultural issue. And this really is a video. Let me say this. This really is a video to just come out as a conservative. I am developing a new series called Woke and Broke Conservative Commentary with Ron Vugata that will debut on my Facebook and YouTube platform. And I will share clips across my Instagram and Twitter to promote it. And I named it Woke and Broke because it derived from a time recently, just a couple months ago, because in this 1 year, I went from being Democrat and racism exists and oppression and reparations to now here I am not believing in racism, not believing that I'm oppressed. Not the same system that I believed oppressed me is the same system that I now believe gives me the tools to be amazing, but it's just been my fault. And I can't really blame the Democrats all the way, because one, it was to my accountability that I was never into politics. Two, no one forced me to believe the things that I believed in. My series Woke and Broke came from a place where I was actually woke and broke. Like, here I am for these causes. I'm for Black Lives Matter, but here I am, I'm still broke. When black people say, and I'm an entrepreneur, let me say this, black people say all the time, support black business, but we spend thousands of dollars on Gucci and Dior for validation of outside people, and maybe even our own people. Maybe we want validation from other black people, but nonetheless, I'm woke and broke. Here I am now. I've created platforms for, or I tried to use my content creation influence to support the LGBT cause. And there have been a lot of things that I didn't agree with on the Black Lives Matter and the LGBT or the gay agenda movement that I didn't agree with, but I just went with it because I was so in dire need to fit in somewhere. I put myself in spaces and in conversations to understand LGBT people, because like I said, I grew up impoverished. I grew up in a primarily black and Hispanic community, and I'm also in Alabama, so the LGBT influence here isn't that big, which is why before I made it my mission to make it big. Hence, I was partaking in the gay agenda. I'm not friends with any LGBT people. I haven't had true LGBT friends, so I felt like I can't be a activist and use my influence to push for LGBT issues if I'm not really aware of the issues. So I started putting myself in spaces to understand these things that the LGBT people were fighting for. And as I've gotten deeper in these discussions, I've started realizing like the shit these people are saying is completely idiotic, and I don't mean that in a hateful way. I promise you I don't, but it's completely idiotic. And for me to be a gay person, the same way black people say that black people can't be racist because they're black, is the same way I can say I'm not homophobic, I'm not transphobic, because through those conversations, I promise you this, just like how racism is a cultural issue between black people and Hispanics. Like, for example, I've had people, I swear on my life, I've had people tell me, oh, stay out of the sun because you're going to lose your light skinness. I've had people tell me, and I've had to educate, especially black women who tell me, you know, you have good hair, you have that good hair. And I hate when people say that, because all hair is beautiful. All skin tones are beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. Everyone on this world, there is no selective group that is more supreme than the other, as Democrats want you to believe. They are the people who are perpetuating these ideas, and they're simply not true. And people are living that through their everyday lives. LGBTs, there's a lot of homophobia and transphobia and lesbian phobia within their own community. For example, they have this whole masculine, feminine debate. They have this whole role of gender roles and all of that bullshit. So here's the thing. I've started getting more into these issues with the LGBTs, and I started realizing like these aren't things that I actually agree with, and I don't feel comfortable having to force myself to agree with it just for the sake of having a place to feel accepted. And then I realized I want to thank someone prominent as well, Candace Owens. I want to thank Candace Owens so much for giving me the strength to break out of oppression and giving me the strength to realize that I've never fit in with the black people. I love black people, but like I said, the most racism I've encountered is through my own people. The most homophobia I've encountered is through my own people. There are gay people who are disengaging from the black culture because even though we support Black Lives Matter, we still have black people in the community who do not support us. It's funny how and I want to make this a point because I'm coming out as conservative and Republican. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm voting red. Being so pro-black has led me to not really know myself. Being so pro-gay agenda has led me to not really know myself, especially as I learned that the gay people, the LGBTs, have their own issues in the gay culture. In the cross collaboration of Black Lives Matter and LGBT, they'll tell you how, especially in 2020, how black people are not a monolith. They'll tell you that we are a collective of many different expressions, many different looks, ideas, dreams, aspiration, goals. But as soon as I come out as conservative, all of those ideas that we are so diverse goes away. It feels like I'm taking my own social career, my whole social life away because I'm not fitting into that Black Lives Matter space anymore. I'm not fitting into the gay agenda anymore. And I thank people like Candace Owens because she's given me the courage to speak up and use my voice and my influence and my platform. I would like to hope that it's not that people dislike me personally. I believe what people dislike, and by people I mean the radical liberals and the Democrats as a whole, I believe what people dislike is that when people like me use their identity, black and gay, to speak the truth, that is, Democrats are keeping people oppressed and Republicans is truly the route to success and creating your American dream. They get mad at that. I don't understand how people who don't know one thing about politics feel so obligated to come after me and tell me about myself, because I will say this. I was having these conversations. Well, let me go back. So let me finish my story on how I actually, the day it clicked to me that I think I'm conservative, besides being an entrepreneur and being pro-life. In these LGBT conversations that I was having with various members of the community, I was asked by these radical leftists, men who wear wigs and nails and call themselves a woman. I was asked, would I date a woman, a trans woman? And I told them, I said I wouldn't, because ultimately for me to date a woman, I want kids, which is true. I do want children in my life. And I feel more secure bringing children into this world as a conservative versus when I was a Democrat, because I understand now how hurtful it is to brainwash children into believing in racism, into believing that there's more than one pronoun other than he and she. But let me finish. So they asked me, would I date a trans woman? And I said I wouldn't, because if I'm gonna be with a woman, then I'm gonna want to conceive a child with her. And she said, everyone in this conversation like just shook the room, just shook the table and was like, oh no, oh, you're so uneducated, because as a matter of fact, men can have children too. So first of all, that still shakes my mind that there are people, and I believe that it's a mental illness that a lot of the LGBT people are going through, primarily the trans group. I believe they're suffering from an immense amount of mental illness. I've heard that is labeled gender dysphoria, but again, I don't want to get too deep into any of my beliefs. This is just a general video of me coming out as conservative. The moment that they told me that men can have children, and me as a biological man looking down at my penis, I have on pants, I'm not actually naked, looking down at my private parts, I understand that I cannot have a child. I know that no matter how many spells, how many window shops that I break down with my bat, how many liberation songs I sing, how much affirming I do in my mind that I'm a woman, I will never have a child. The moment that they told me that was the moment that I checked out, and I said, you know what? I had enough. This is the stupidest shit I ever heard in my life. I'm not finna subscribe to this. I'm not finna support this. And it's crazy because synonymously at that same time of me having these conversations and studying these LGBT politics, YouTube was pushing Candace Owens content to my platform, well, not my platform, to my social media timeline, well, my YouTube timeline, through videos and shorts. And I was watching them and I'm like, you know what? This is making sense. The first video I ever saw by Candace Owens was for her support as pro-life, and that was big for me because as I was coming out as pro-life, I got no support. As I state my views on pro-life, I would get no support. But if I drop a picture of myself with a veiny caption that is very worldly, I get 100 likes, comments, reactions. I get so much support when I use my influence to push the wrong ideas, but I get no support when I push the things that I truly believe in. And one thing that I truly believe in about myself is I'm not going to be used as some sexual tool to make younger people believe, younger men and women believe, that the only way they can get attention is if they post shirtless pics, is if they bend over at a gas station and post a caption that says, everybody want me because I'm slutty, I don't know, I'm easy. I don't want to perpetuate that, because there comes a time in life where your looks will fade, and there comes a time in life where you will be judged based on your intelligence. And I think in life in its entirety, you're being judged by your intelligence, which I think is valid because, again, if Democrats want to say that I am a coon, if Democrats want to say that I am not informed, then I have the right to say, using my freedom of speech, to say that transgender people and a lot of the gay people, the LGBT people, are mentally ill for believing and perpetuating to our younger kids that men can have children all of a sudden, that women can be defined as a feeling versus the biological makeup of our bodies. And I understand that there are biological women who cannot have kids, but I think it's an insult for LGBT people to use biological women who cannot have kids as their leverage as to why they are equal as real women. If anybody gets that, it's the stupidest shit I ever heard. Racism. I live in Alabama, and to be honest with you, I feel like now I live my life through a whole different lens, because I used to look at white people, again, I'm in Alabama where my governor is Kay Ivey. I used to hate Kay Ivey. I used to hate white people. I thought everything white people did was racist. If a white person didn't hold the door for me, it was racist. But if a black person didn't hold the door for me or didn't say thank you if I held the door for them, I would write it off as, oh, they're just having a bad day. Because again, we're oppressed. I used to hate police. I used to feel like if I called the police, then I will probably get shot and probably get not the justice that I feel like I'm due. And for some basic facts on systemic racism for any black person, because let me tell you this, after making the decision to leave the Democratic Party and all of those gay agenda ideas and Black Lives Matter oppression ideas, I've started using my platform to, through text, make statuses on my Facebook, my Twitter, on how I support actually conservative ideas. And I've been getting so much backlash. Like, I've gotten As a black man, you should know better. As a gay man, you should know better that they don't like you because these Christian values that you're talking about, they don't even like you because gay is a sin. Gay people have told me that. My belief is Christians don't dislike me as a person, they dislike the sin. White people do not like me as a black person. They just don't like bad people in general, criminals in general. Here are some facts that I've studied and I'm able to tell you off the top of my head. And this is based on a 2020 study. If white supremacy exists, then why does black on black crime, well, let's say this, black people as of 2022 or 2021, but I'm in 2022, so I'm going to include it as 2022. Black people make up in America as the population between 12 and 13% of the population. We're actually lower than Hispanics. They make up about 15 to 18%, give or take, in that range. Okay. Now that we know that black people make up 13% of the population in America, let's talk about systemic racism and all of this police brutality and all of this. White on black crime, including the police force, is 4%. Black on black crime is 97%. Black on white crime is 81%. You tell me, where is this systemic racism that people are talking about? And if you ask me, if you really want to make this a whole white lives matter type situation, doesn't it seem more right that white people should be more angry that 81% of the murders in the white community are caused by black people? Doesn't that give them more of the right than black people to be outraged? But here we are, as black people, as a black culture, demanding that white people bow down to us because of something that happened generations ago. I refuse to treat white people as slave masters, and I refuse to treat gay people as the end all be all of intelligence, because their ideas are simply stupid. Systemic racism is simply stupid. To believe that we should put no money into our national defense and allow immigrants, illegal immigrants, to come into our country, not pay taxes, but now we have to deal with all of this homelessness and all of this. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you why progressive thinking and democratic thinking does not work. It does not work because things like gay marriage and transgenders being affirmed in pronouns, of being wanting to be affirmed with their pronouns, does not affect gas prices. Increasing government handouts so people can stay oppressed and poor does not build wealth in our communities. Living life through a lens where everything is black and white, gay, straight, this war does not progress nothing in life. I also hate when people ask me, what do you identify as if me identifying as a gay person makes me any better or worse as a person, as if me identifying as a black person makes me any better or worse as a person. Don't ask me what I identify as. Judge me based on my character. Judge me based on my morals. Judge me based on my actions. Judge me based on my service back to the community. Do not judge me or put this whole prefix notion on me because I tell you that I'm gay, because I tell you that I'm black, when me being black or gay has nothing to do with me as a person in America. It has nothing to do with me as an American citizen who wants to see our nation rise and remain the most powerful country in the world. If you want to break out of the democratic oppression, then my best advice for you is to do what I did. Study politics, study Republicans, study Democrats with an unbiased point of view. Listen to debates and simply listen to what makes more sense. Because at the end of the day, being Republican is all about common sense. It's about Christian values. It's about putting our nation first. It's not about putting social ideas first. That does not help our economy. It is not about affirming if you're a it or if you're a them. That does not affirm, that does not help our economy. We have Democratic leaders like Joe Biden sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. And Ukraine is actively, the president of Ukraine is actively asking for billions of more dollars. I believe $5 billion he's asking from the U.S.
Why President Volodymyr Zelensky asked the international financial community to step up.
The more assistance Ukraine gets now, the sooner we will come to the end of the Russian war.
He estimates Ukraine will need significant injections of funds just to run the country in 2023 and billions more to rebuild it.
$38 billion to make up for the deficit of our budget for next year, including salaries for doctors and teachers. Another $17 billion to rebuild critical infrastructure, schools, hospitals, critical transport and energy infrastructure, and also housing.
The United States has already pledged $15 billion in support for Ukraine.
Why are we not using that money to get homeless people off the street? That Democrats claim that they love people so much. Why are we not using that money to get our veterans off the street? Why are we not using that money to get military people better care, better aftercare once they're discharged from the military? Why don't we use that money to repair our infrastructure and rebuild our economy and rebuild our school systems? Because the public school systems is not shit. I wouldn't put my kids in a public school systems. If you really know about politics, then you know that if they're making it a law to where if you don't affirm your child's LGBT, their gay agenda in general, if you don't affirm the gay agenda in your household, CPS, Child Protective Services, can come to your door and send you to jail because of that. If that's not controlling in the negative way, if that's not the opposite of progressive, then as I said before, voting Republican means that you have common sense. I'm from Alabama. I'm going to vote red in November, and I'm going to vote red in 2024. I'm going to register to vote for the first time in my life. I'm going to go to a polling station. I'm going to go to a polling station and cast my vote. I'm proud to be American. I'm proud to be informed about politics. And I don't know any and everything. I don't. But in the past few months, I know more than I've ever known. And I feel more sure of myself than I've ever have. I've went through this identity crisis of trying to figure out who I am. And now when I realize who I am as a person, I have people who are telling me again, as a black person, you should know better, that there is systemic racism. As a gay person, you should know better, that people are trying to oppress you. No one cares about your sexuality. No one cares who you sleep with. No one cares about your skin color. And as I break out of the black and white lens, I'm living my life in Alabama happily. I'm making conversations with people. I'm smiling at people. I'm realizing that people aren't looking at me thinking Nigger. People are not looking at me thinking, oh, black, oh, gay. People are looking at me based on how I present myself, which is educated, successful, once in poverty, but now using my influence to push myself out of poverty. I'm using my influence for a greater good of America, and I'm proud of it. In the period that I realized that I'm not a Democrat, I spent the previous month on my platforms posting my conservative ideas, and again, people were coming at me and are coming at me left and right about it. Like I said, people loved me when I had my mouth shut and was just using my influence to provoke a sexual nature, but people do not like me when I'm using my mind to think. All the hateful comments from, again, these loving Democrats who preach peace and love, amongst all those hateful comments under my statuses where I'm sharing my conservative ideas, I got a comment from a white man, and his race doesn't matter, but it's important that I mention it. I got a comment from this man who said that you should definitely push through with your idea of starting a woke and broke conservative commentary podcast, because you will be a great influence to your peers to break out of that chained mindset of oppression that the Democrats feed us. And he ended the comment by saying that he's a veteran, and that right there, it gave me this confidence to feel like I am on the right path, because not only him, there were a small group of, again, white people who they tell me to hate because they hate me, giving me so much love and support on my ideas when I would, type my comments under conservative posts and Democratic posts that the White House will post. I want black people to know that before they scream racism to me, do some research. Understand that Jim Crow laws were created by Democrats to keep black people oppressed and segregated because black people were in Republican parties before everyone somehow became synonymously Democrat out of nowhere. And understand that your ideas on defunding the police is hurting our community. Your ideas of forcing this gay agenda, and I've had gay people under my social media posts tell me that the gay agenda doesn't exist. Well, that's because, in my opinion, they're so brainwashed and so involved in the gay agenda that they can't even realize that they're perpetuating this horrible state of mind, the sexual revolution, as Ben Shapiro has been calling it. And I'm a huge fan of Ben Shapiro. They don't even realize that they're pushing those ideas on our kids, which is the gay agenda. I've been creating content on the internet for many years, and this is the most profound I've ever felt. If you are like me, young, black, LGBT, and are interested in learning more about politics and learning more about how you should be more involved in politics, not as a Democrat because you've been told to be a Democrat, but be involved as a conservative because that is where the success of our country leads to. My new web series, Woke and Broke: Conservative Commentary with Ron Vulgata, will be available on YouTube. It will be available on Facebook. So if you're on YouTube and Facebook, you can catch my content on both of those platforms. And again, I'm getting a lot of attacks. So if you are conservative, I could use your support. You may feel like I am pushing against the current with my decision to be Republican, but I'm going to tell you this. This is the most, even though it feels like socially I'm pushing against the current, this is the most with the current I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm enjoying having conversations with all kinds of people. I'm enjoying pushing a revolution for black people to become united with the American society and not stay oppressed under this Black Lives Matter, which we know is a scam. And the gay agenda will be the next scam that I want to expose, because a lot of people think that in the LGBT, and so many goddamn letters, just in the LGBT community, people believe that the gay agenda does not exist. But as a former gay agenda activist, I promise you the gay agenda is alive and well, and it's moving right under your noses, especially if you have children. You need to be more involved in politics than anyone. So with that being said, I love you guys. I love God. I'm a Christian. I love America. I love Donald Trump. I hate Nancy Pelosi. I hate all kinds of Democrats. I hate the people who... I don't even know if I could trust the FBI for offering $1 million to prove something that was totally fake, because, again, I have a lot to say. Make sure that you guys follow my platforms. I hope that you guys find me, because we do know that it's getting hard to express conservative values in a liberal America. In my heart, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I don't feel like I'm being chased to be accepted by anyone, because as a black and gay person, I think to come out as conservative is socially killing yourself. But I'm strong enough to have my own identity. I'm strong enough to have my own beliefs. And I know that other people like me will find me and will support me and will assure me that I'm moving in the right direction. I hope that you guys share it to everyone that you know. And I hope that you really listen to what I'm saying, because everything that I'm saying is backed by facts. I don't speak with opinions. I don't speak with emotions like the Democrats do. And with that being said, vote red in the midterms in November. Vote red in the 2024 election. I'm from Alabama. I'm voting for Kay Ivey and whoever else is Republican. Pro-life, Christian values, national defense. Enough of this gay agenda, pronouns, women are feelings and not biological. Enough of all that bullshit. It's time to make America great again. I want every Democrat, every progressive, every liberal to understand that us Republicans, and me being black and gay, I'm saying this with my chest out and my head held high, Us Republicans are uniting America, of all races, of all religions, of all walks of life. Immigrants who come in legally, we're inviting, we're loving. We just want to create a economy where everyone has a fair shot to the American dream. Home ownership, good paying jobs, no government handouts, and none of these progressive pronouns, biology, science twisting ideas, which the progressives seem to love science when it comes to medicine, but they hate science when it comes to biology and gender. Go figure. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.